on this Friday night.
Everybody just going crazy, screaming, just crying for their lives, everything.
The closest of calls for a plane packed with Canadians. The low-tech measures that help keep everyone alive.
Right now, we're losing in Alberta about $100 million every day.
An American judge blocks a made-in-Canada project. How big a setback is it for an industry trying to get its oil to market?
The first embroiderers to begin the work were the Canadians.
And the fine art that helped heal the wounds of the Great War. On a somber centenary, a poignant Canadian family story. This is The National.
A crash landing came terrifyingly close to becoming an aviation disaster this morning. A Jamaican airliner skidded off a runway in Guyana. 130 people were on board, 82 of them Canadian. As you'll hear, it was a chaotic and frightening experience. David Common takes us through what happened.
So as you can see, the aircraft came shooting through the fence.
As terrifying as this may look, imagine the half hour just before it. The pilot in flight declaring a loss of hydraulics, which control landing gear, wing flaps, and some brakes. He likely knew he'd barely be able to slow the plane. And on landing, it hurtled down the runway and right off of it, brakes burning under the pressure, stopping just before a sharp ditch.
If we had 10 more feet, we would be down in the cliff, down in the ditch. So it's a miracle over miracles.
Invor Badesi was in one of the first seats.
That's where the panic starts coming in. Everybody got woken up at that time, and they start cursing, they start praying. It was just that when chaos started going crazy. Everybody just going crazy, screaming.
The plane never made it near Canada, home to most of the 120 passengers. It was delayed on departure, apparently over a door issue. Investigators will now look at recent maintenance and examine the runway, which was itself recently extended after a similar accident.
So at least one bright spot out of very gloomy and serious situation is that they were able to utilize the runway. The runway, the extended runway, I would like to make it very clear, was not opened. Even though it was completed, it was not open for airline traffic. But because it's there, they were able to use it.
Authorities report airport crews laid out a spike belt rumble strip to slow the plane as it approached the runway's end. The sound of impact, passengers told Guyanese TV, created panic.
The next thing you know, the plane going, you hear shh, and the girls say, leave your baggage, and everybody run, they open the door.
The plane crashed into the fence, the wire fence. And then they announced something meaning to evacuate immediately. And then I got up, then it hit something else and I fell down.
Now, the search for answers. The U.S. is sending an investigator to assist the small Caribbean nation determine why this happened. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
So, an agonizing experience for passengers, but what about those flying the plane? Barry Wisniewski is a respected air safety expert. He's also a pilot with 18,000 hours of flying experience. We asked him to describe this kind of crisis from a pilot's point of view.
So in the event that you ran through your checklist, you did your calculations for the landing distances, you did your calculations for the airspeeds of a degraded aircraft, and you get on the ground, the emergency's not over there. You continue to fly the airplane until the aircraft comes to a complete stop. In the event that you have an overrun, you're still flying the airplane. And again, it's the two crew working together in harmony to taking themselves through the checklist to make sure that we minimize loss of life is the priority. You're going to try to minimize damage to the aircraft and save assets.
And as if all of that wasn't enough drama for those on board, we're also hearing reports that several passengers were robbed by some of the very people sent to help them. Local police say at least 9 firefighters were being questioned after personal items were stolen from the plane. Things like electronic devices, cash, and passports. Even the pilot reported missing items. Police say those responsible will be dealt with harshly.
Let's move on to another developing story we're watching very closely tonight. Several wildfires are continuing to rip through parts of California this evening. So far, officials have confirmed at least 9 deaths and 150,000 people have been forced from their homes. There are 6 major fires burning, but 3 have officials most concerned. The Camp Fire in Butte County in the northern part of the state, the Hill Fire just outside Thousand Oaks, and the Woolsey Fire threatening homes around Los Angeles and Malibu. Tens of thousands of residents ran for their lives, packing up whatever they could before fleeing their homes.
Oh my God, embers are going in the car. We have got to get out of here.
I hope Mom's gonna be all right. God, it's so hot.
Many barely escaped the flames.
Heavenly Father, please help us.
Traffic hit a standstill. Some were forced to abandon their cars and run. The fire burned through the town of Paradise in Northern California so quickly that crews stopped trying to control the blaze. Instead, they focused on getting people out alive, and by morning, most of the community lay in ruins.
A considerable portion of the town was destroyed.
Fire was all around me, and it was kind of frightening.
2 other fast-moving infernos are racing down the coast of California, whipped along by the Santa Ana winds. People in the path are being told to leave early.
We've professed and preached throughout the last few months, the past year, ready, set, go. Each of our communities should be ready to pack up and leave at a moment's notice.
Firefighters have been hard at work, but the destruction already seems inevitable.
We've been through earthquakes, we've been through fires out here, but nothing that's actually got into the houses. It's burnt the yards and the hillsides, but nothing that's actually got houses.
Officials are trying to use the lessons learned from last year's deadly wildfire season.
We put our best plan forward in a life preservation mode to get people out of harm's way.
But for now, California seems to be at the mercy of Mother Nature yet again. As you just saw, these fires are spreading fast, not giving people a lot of time to evacuate. We caught up with one man who fled the Hill Fire with his family, and he is our witness.
The Hills Fire, that was very fast, within 12 minutes. It crossed the main highway, the 101. There was a lot of smoke, and we had just time. I put a 15 minutes schedule to grab the dogs, the animals, grab the passport. We have the hills like maybe 300 meters away from the home, so we could see it was coming all black and it was going to reach the top pretty soon. The trees were moving in every direction. It's an extremely fast fire. It looks like almost you have a volcano eruption because of the size. So all the west of Los Angeles up to Santa Barbara, and it's just, we talk about 70, 80 kilometers. It's just a big cloud going in the sky. And the animals are safe. We are safe. So, that's the most important things for the moment.
His family, like so many others, doesn't know when they'll be able to return home. For now, they are continuing their drive south, away from the wildfires. And charges have now been laid in connection with a series of fires in Iqaluit we told you about last night. One of those fires destroying the city's largest grocery store, leading to concerns about food security. 5 others started in the surrounding area late Wednesday and early Thursday. A 17-year-old has been charged with arson and disregard for human life.
Well, the equipment and supplies are in place, but construction on TransCanada's Keystone XL pipeline is a no-go for now. It's been stopped in its tracks by a judge in Montana, and U.S. President Trump is not pleased.
Well, it was a political decision made by a judge. I think it's a disgrace. It's 48,000 jobs. I approved it. It's ready to start. And they went, and I guess they'll end up going to the 9th Circuit as usual.
Now, the judge said the permit to build shouldn't have been granted because of a lack of scientific evidence in support of it. He basically wants a do-over of Keystone's environmental impact review before it can move forward, which is a serious setback for a project that's already seen plenty of them. The original proposal dates back 10 years, 1 million barrels of oil a day from Alberta to Texas. But even after getting the go-ahead, delay after delay, the very next year, 2 weeks of protests outside the White House. Police intervene. And a month later, in Ottawa too, 117 people arrested on Parliament Hill. Then, after years of negotiation, Barack Obama vetoes the project. But the pipeline would find an ally in Donald Trump. He clears the way forward, only to hit this new roadblock. So 10 years and still no pipeline. So, unsurprisingly, the lack of progress continues to be hugely frustrating in Canada's oil sector. They're exasperated, but as Rafi Boudjikanian tells us, with so much invested and so much to gain, they're not giving up.
We know there's obstacles.
In just the space of a few months, yet another setback for Canadian oil. A U.S. court cited environmental concerns as one reason they're halting the pipeline.
To be clear, a number of those concerns were not addressed over the years, and now we're a government that is addressing them.
The contentious pipeline has long been the target of protesters both in the U.S. and Canada. Today's decision has given politicians here much to fret about.
I am disappointed in the court's decision, and I will be reaching out to TransCanada.
At the end of August, the Canadian Federal Court of Appeal decision halted the Trans Mountain project's expansion. Environmentalists are hoping today's development marks a sea change for the oil industry.
Pipelines are threatening communities, First Nation, water, fueling the climate crisis, and we know we just can't build any more pipelines.
What these guys do is they go out fishing.
This industry analyst says plaintiffs against the oil industry cast as wide a net as possible, creating lengthy delays, and it's causing the Canadian sector a lot of money. He says about $100 million a day since product is staying put and the big players are not adapting.
Incumbents, traditional long-term companies, when it comes to new technologies, new ways of thinking, they lose. So Amazon has taken over where the Sears, which was a catalog company, couldn't make that jump. Is this applied to oil companies? Yeah, there's a lot of that. Quit whining about the past. Here's what it is. Deal with it.
From TransCanada today, only this terse statement. We have received the judge's ruling and continue to review it. We remain committed to building this important energy infrastructure project. With the U.S. State Department calling this ongoing litigation, an appeal seems almost certain. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Edmonton.
Well, moving on to a new development in a BC story with a long history. The province and the city of Richmond, just outside Vancouver, took steps this week to crack down on mega mansions being built on farmland. Dozens have popped up across the city in recent years. It's had a lot of residents worried that real estate speculators are encroaching on land that's been set aside to grow food. As Briar Stewart explains, they've been pushing for years for government action.
So this one here is 22,000 square feet.
As Laura Galanders drives through Richmond, she points out the sprawling development, but really it's impossible to miss.
The big fancy one there that we were talking about.
These mega mansions have been built on what's known as ALR, the Agricultural Land Reserve.
Richmond has some of the best soil in Canada, and it's being used as residential development and for real estate and for profit.
Galanders says after BC brought in its foreign buyers tax, there was even more building here because the tax doesn't apply to farmland.
In Richmond, a lot of the farmland is right in residential areas, which is why it's so attractive for developers. And this really sums up the issue for so many people. Here you have land that's being used as a pumpkin patch. Well, it's now pressed right up against a new mansion under construction.
It was really heartbreaking to watch this amazing agricultural community just slowly get degraded.
Which is why she's grateful the government has ushered in new changes. BC introduced legislation that caps the size of new homes being built on farmland to 5,400 square feet.
We have 5% of the land base that's arable for food. And every time you create something like a mega mansion, new and young farmers will never be able to farm that land.
Richmond voted to pass a similar bylaw and plans to go even further by restricting the overall residential footprint allowed on these properties. But not all of these houses are being built by investors.
A large amount of capital is invested into Richmond, which helps.
Bhupinder Dimman argues some farmers need to build big homes because many generations help to work the land.
This is just adding more bureaucracy on top of laws that bylaws that are already created, and it's just making a farmer's life more difficult.
People can apply to build houses larger than 5,400 square feet, but they have to demonstrate it's necessary for the operation of the farm.
It's really about stopping the speculation. It's not about punishing farmers.
As for Gillander, she believes the changes strike the right balance. She just wishes the limits were brought in years ago, before many of these brand new mansions were built. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Richmond.
Okay, and still ahead tonight on The National, as Hollywood tackles the painful issue of conversion therapy, we talk to gay Canadians who were forced into the religious treatment aimed at making them straight.
And Sunday marks 100 years since the end of the First World War. We'll have a story of how Canadian soldiers used needlework to heal after the horrors of battle.
Plus, the Foreign Affairs Minister joins us for the national conversation on Donald Trump, Justin Trudeau, and the state of Canada-U.S. relations.
First, though, a preview of a podcast I've been working on that drops Monday morning, and we'll have special coverage here on The National. Take a look.
CPA 21, how do you read? CP 21, Vancouver, do you read?
Three staccato cries of Mayday and an eyewitness report of a mid-air explosion is about all that is known this morning of the British Columbia air disaster, which yesterday claimed 52 lives.
We were told nothing.
They knew what had happened, but they didn't know why.
It looked like a plane just falls straight from the sky.
59 minutes after it took off, an explosion on board.
Police had 4 suspects, but no one claimed responsibility and no charges have ever been laid.
It's remarkable to me that a human being could decide to blow up a plane full of strangers. So many lives were impacted by this.
Little girl had a knapsack on her back with a doll, and the little boy was dressed in a knitted suit. My mom was on that plane.
Nobody told us that he'd been killed.
The families really were kind of left in the dark after all this happened.
You know, we keep hearing about these 4 alleged persons that could have been involved.
We have a very good idea who the responsible person was.
One of the cleaners of the aircraft saw someone getting on.
Whoever it is or was to this day has gone undetected.
I really want to know what happened, and it makes me extraordinarily angry that it's always been a big secret.
This was not an accident. This was pure murder.
Today will be a difficult day for a number of people in Canada. A movie called Boy Erased hits theaters. It's based on a true story, and it deals with a powerfully painful subject, what's known as conversion therapy. Now, it is a practice widely discredited that attempts to turn gay people straight. It's also something that continues to happen in the United States, but Canadians are taking notice because the film strikes a nerve here too. Eli Glasner shows us why.
Jared, tell me the truth, that's all. I think about men.
In Boy Erased, a Baptist preacher discovers his son is gay. In desperation, the family turn to conversion therapy.
You cannot be born a homosexual. This is a lie. It's a choice.
Go. Fake it till you make it. Become the man you are not.
Author Garrett Conley was the real boy whose struggle inspired the film.
It felt like, first of all, I knew nothing was changing. It wasn't working.
But I also knew that I had to do it or else I'd lose everything.
What's the matter?
Please, I'm in trouble. Mom!
With his mother's help, Conley left the program. But even after, he felt ashamed to touch his own partner's skin.
This is why you feel so dumb. Like, of course that's not normal. Of course that's not a normal sexual experience. But you don't know that when the only thing you've ever known is shame.
Peter Gaidich also knows that feeling.
This would have been around the time, definitely when I knew I was gay and I was really struggling already with this idea of telling my parents.
Depressed and shunned by his family, he turned to a psychiatrist who promised to fix him.
He said very quickly after that the medication would help to silence the noise of my homosexuality. Primal scream therapy.
But what Gaidich endured happened in British Columbia, not the American Bible Belt setting of the movie.
The danger, if you could say that, is in Canada, people might look at it and say, well, that type of thing doesn't happen in Canada. It's an American story, but it does happen here, of course.
3 provinces have passed laws preventing conversion therapy practitioners from billing health plans. But that doesn't mean the programs don't exist here.
In Canada, it happens a little differently than in the States. A lot of it's kind of underground. You'll go to a summer camp, but the focus will be on conversion, or you'll go to a Bible study group. We're actually trying
At a preview screening where gay rights advocates were invited, Boy Erased resonated with viewers, including this survivor.
What was that experience like for you?
It's reenacting some of the traumas that I had. Yeah. It was tough. It was like I saw what I actually went through on film.
I used to be really active in church, but I really stopped going because instead of me feeling like, I'm actually loved or respected, these pastors were trying to rescue me.
The scary part about it is I know people that are still in it in Canada, and they genuinely hate themselves, and they still do have suicidal thoughts.
But their hope is Boy Erased will serve as a wake-up call to the dangers of conversion therapy. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, a wake-up call is one thing, but in Canada, there are at least 2 petitions, each with thousands of signatures, calling on the federal government to get involved. One asks for an outright ban on trying to convert minors. Another wants Ottawa to make a clear statement opposing conversion therapy and then to back it up with policies and laws. Now, we reached out directly to the Prime Minister's office, and what we got back was a statement from the Heritage Ministry. Nothing about laws, but their position is clear. Conversion therapy is wrong, extremely harmful, and does not reflect our government's values or those of Canadians. All Canadians should feel safe to be themselves. We remain committed to continuing to work towards a future where every single one of us is free to be true to who we are and achieve our fullest potential.
Ahead tonight on The National, remembering 100 years after the end of the First World War. Nala Ayed will take us to Belgium, a century after Canadian troops aided its liberation.
First, though, we go in-depth on Canada-U.S. relations with the Foreign Affairs Minister.
Is there evidence, though, that Canadians can trust Donald Trump?
I think that is really a question for the president. And it is a question.
No. That's a question for you too. Given the way he.
I think it's a question for Americans. Americans are the ones who elect him, not us.
With the election of Donald Trump, Canada's relationship with the U.S. entered a complex and, at times, confusing new phase. Now, we certainly don't know what will happen next, but we do know Canadians are concerned about lots of things: trade, values, democracy. So last night, we opened the CBC Broadcasting Centre right here in Toronto to the public for a national conversation on how our 2 countries get along. We hosted fellow journalists from the Washington Post, as well as Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland. And tonight, we want to share some of that conversation with you.
Let's just start with Tuesday night and the results of the midterms. When you saw those results, did you say to yourself, oh, shoot, now I got to get to know a whole new slew of people, or I've got to change my approach to the United States? How did you react to those?
You know, Rosie, when I saw those results, I said what I think every Canadian government always says after every US election, which is a core job of any federal government of Canada, a core job of any Canadian foreign minister, is to have a working relationship with whoever the Americans elect. And that was our job before Tuesday, and that is our job after Tuesday, and that will be our job after the 2020 elections. And we're good at working with all different types and flavors of Americans, and that's what we're going to keep on doing.
We've never had a flavor like Donald Trump, though, I'm pretty sure, Aaron. So I'll let you go next.
I wanted to turn to the USMCA because obviously that's the biggest issue between the two countries right now. There have been some comments in recent days, both by the Prime Minister and the Ambassador, about where this stands as far as tariffs go. There is some surprise that those tariffs have not been lifted yet. I know you guys have talked about how these are two-track negotiations. One side is the tariff, one side is replacing NAFTA. Has there been any kind of assurance that the Canadian government has received about lifting those tariffs as a part of this trade discussion?
There was some surprise in Canada, and I think around the world, when the tariffs were imposed. There is no reasonable argument to have imposed these tariffs on Canada. That's what we said at the beginning. It is actually absurd. And that's why when the tariffs were imposed, we said that we would impose retaliatory measures, and we did. It is perfectly reciprocal, dollar for dollar retaliation. It went into force on July 1st, and our tariffs will remain in place until the US tariffs are lifted. So Canada's position is, lift these tariffs now. They're hurting everybody.
I understand that's the position, but why not say we are not going to sign on to USMCA until these tariffs are lifted? Why not use the leverage that you have as a part of these trade negotiations to actually get an assurance rather than having this hanging out there for a number of months?
You know, we have said from the moment that the tariffs were first contemplated, we've been very clear that they are on an entirely separate track from NAFTA. And that is not just a matter of opinion, that's a matter of law. The tariffs, and it's been very important for us to make that distinction clear, because there were some efforts to say, and frankly, to justify the tariffs, the 232 tariffs, to say, well, these are necessary in order to get the Canadians to do such and such at the negotiating table. And it was very important for us not to let those waters be muddied, to say the use of this Section 232 national security tariff is entirely separate from our NAFTA negotiation. And by the way, we do a lot of trade with the United States. We trade $2 billion every day. We do have trade irritants in other areas. Softwood lumber is one ongoing issue. And it's very important to keep these tracks separate.
And do you feel, though, when we eventually get to the signing part of USMCA, which eventually we will, one would expect probably in the new year now, you're comfortable signing that deal even if the tariffs are in place?
Look, my position from day one, as Aaron mentioned, has been very consistent, and it is unchanged. That the tariffs and the NAFTA negotiation and our other trade irritants, each one has to go in its separate track. And I do also feel, Aaron and Rosie, that there is goodwill in the trade relationship following the signing of the agreement in principle. And I do think it would make a lot of sense for that goodwill to translate into a lifting of the
It doesn't
tariffs.
sound to me, though, like you think that you could even use it as leverage. If you want to keep it on two tracks, and I understand everything you're saying, it doesn't sound to me like you think you have any leverage anyway.
Well, there's always leverage. Canada is the largest market for the United States, larger than China, Japan, and the UK combined. So we do have leverage in the relationship, but we think it's important to use that leverage in the right places. We believe in rules, we believe in laws, we believe in procedures, and we think it's important to keep everything in its own lane.
The Prime Minister Trudeau, a few days ago in an interview with CNN, he was asked about his father's comment that you should always trust people. And this question was asked in relation to President Trump. And Prime Minister Trudeau's response was, "What my father taught me was to trust Canadians."
I I'm going to clap too.
Aaron.
I can't top that.
I don't
do trust Canadians.
I don't disagree with that philosophy, but people like me look at that quote and say, "Hey, you were drawing a line there between President Trump and Canadians. How are we not to take that as a suggestion that he does not trust President Trump?"
Well, that really is a question for the Prime Minister who made that comment. But I would say trusting Canadians is something that the Prime Minister says a lot in our cabinet meetings. So that is definitely not just something he said in the CNN interview. That is a rule our government lives by.
Is there evidence, though, that Canadians can trust Donald Trump?
You know, I think that is really a question for the President. And it is a question
No. That's a question for you too. Given the way he,
I think it's a question for Americans. Americans are the ones who elect him, not us.
Given the way he has behaved, though, you have to take him at his word when he says, "Yeah, we're going to go ahead and sign this." There's no evidence that this is a person that keeps his promises. I don't think. Am I wrong?
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah. So then, why should Canadians feel confident that you guys are okay trusting him?
Well,
or do you not?
I was going to say, you've put a bunch of different words in my mouth, none of which I will sign up to. And let me say this, in terms of maybe the way to frame it is how we negotiate with the Americans and how you work with this counterparty. And in the NAFTA negotiation, my counterpart was and is Ambassador Lighthizer. And he is for sure a tough negotiator. I hope that I am too, and I hope he would say the same thing about me. But we have had throughout a very professional relationship.
So you trust Mr. Lighthizer?
I do trust Mr. Lighthizer.
Okay. One more for you?
Sure. Speaking of things that our respective leaders have said, President Trump was on 60 Minutes a few weeks ago. He was asked about why he's, putting these tariffs on our allies, Canada, Japan. And Leslie Stahl said, "Why are you doing this to our allies?" And he responded and he said, "What's an ally?" He's basically, at least according to my reading, questioning the very premise of an ally. He is suggesting that maybe these are trading partners, these are just countries you do business with. Do you feel like Canada is still an American ally?
It's not a question of how I feel. It's a question of the reality, the economic reality, and also the military reality. We are very much an ally of the United States, and the United States is very much our ally. We are partners in NATO. We have shared obligations to one another under Article 5. And equally importantly, we are partners in NORAD. NORAD is the only joint command that the United States participates in the world. It's a joint command of Canadians and Americans. And that close relationship is essential because of geography, because of this vast, unmilitarized, and really used by human beings border. So yeah, of course we're allies.
That could have gone on for a whole lot longer, and I would have been glued to it the whole time. Another focus, though, of last night's national conversation was how to defend truth and accuracy when the value of journalism itself is under attack.
I mean, you see the mantra of fake news repeated, not just by the president's fans at his rallies, but you see it repeated by his allies across the elected spectrum as well. I have had members of Congress say, "Oh, Washington Post, that's fake news."
I always say fake news is not an argument, it's a slogan. If somebody says fake news to you, they are not disputing anything that you have reported. They are just throwing a blanket over you and saying, "I don't even want to talk about it, I don't want to defend myself."
But it is remarkable how much it has filtered down to real Americans. You were just there. I was in Ohio a couple weeks back. You guys hear it all the time. Did you hear it when you were down there?
This is a time when we're being challenged as journalists that it's ever more important to just do your job and be calm and ask the reasonable questions and try to stay above reproach because people are looking for you to take the bait.
It is really an attempt to undermine the public's trust in all media, to persuade them that there is another reality that can be defined by the president alone. And that is such a dangerous thing because a free press is a cornerstone of a free democracy. And so his attacks on the press in that context are an attack on democracy.
It was a fascinating discussion. So for more of this and other challenges facing all of us, watch the national conversation on Canada-US relations in its entirety online. Our website's the place to be, cbcnews.ca/thenational, or you can find it on our YouTube page.
Up next on The National, Sunday marks 100 years since the end of the First World War. We'll show you how wounded soldiers, including Canadians, found therapeutic value in learning a new skill.
I don't think we think enough about the people who came back with those terrible scars and wounds, both mental and physical. And yet here we have something which they were able to focus on, to create, to lift them out of the awfulness of what they'd experienced.
Let's take a look at some of the other stories we're tracking tonight on The National. We have an update on what Australian officials are treating as a terrorist attack, linked, they say, to the Islamic State. Yesterday, a man drove a truck loaded with bottles of gasoline into the city center, setting them on fire. He then started attacking with a knife, killing one person before he was shot and killed by police. 2 people were injured. Police say the man was known to them and that his brother was arrested last year for planning a New Year's Eve attack.
All of a sudden, they're finding votes out of nowhere.
Recounts are looming in the Florida Senate race. Today, current Republican Governor Rick Scott and incumbent Democrat Bill Nelson were separated by just 15,000 votes of 8 million cast. And now the U.S. president is hinting at possible fraud by Democrats. Other recounts are also possible in the Arizona Senate race and in the governor's elections in both Florida and Georgia. Some 500 migrants left Mexico City today, continuing their journey toward the U.S. border. The group separated itself from the rest of the caravan to get a jump start on thousands of others who have been resting at a sports complex. But up ahead lies a brand new obstacle. An order from the U.S. president barring migrants who enter illegally from seeking asylum. Many observers expect that to be challenged in court. Just 2 days from now, people around the globe will mark 100 years since the end of the First World War. Preparations are well underway for this milestone Remembrance Day. In northern France, British Prime Minister Theresa May and French President Emmanuel Macron laid a wreath created for the occasion. It combines the British poppy with the French floret. Donald Trump arrived in Paris this evening and wrote an angry tweet about Macron for his suggestion that Europe build an army to guard against world powers, including the U.S. Justin Trudeau also left for France today. Tomorrow he visits the Canadian National Vimy Memorial. More than 60 world leaders will be in Paris on Sunday to take part in the commemoration. Celebrations are already taking place in other countries touched by the First World War and Canada's role in it. Nala Ayed has this snapshot from Belgium.
Here in the city of Mons, liberated by Canadians 100 years ago, there's an unmistakable energy about how they're marking this occasion. You could see it this morning in the gathering of children brought out to what would have otherwise been a routine unveiling of a plaque to honor Canadians who liberated the nearby village of Yonne.
I think each year and every year we seem to get better at telling these stories, even to younger people. I think the centenary is obviously very powerful.
The children were then treated to an indigenous hoop dance by Shanley Spence from Winnipeg. Among the many events they're planning for this weekend, there will, of course, be ceremonies to reflect on the enormous losses, including at the Saint-Symphorien Cemetery, where Canadian soldiers are buried along with British and German ones. But the mood here in Mons will otherwise be deliberately upbeat, according to organizers.
We decided for all commemoration this year, yes, to do commemoration, but also a lot of party. And it's very, very important for us to remember that it's a liberation.
To that end, 2 chamber orchestras, one Belgian, one Canadian, have united to perform here this weekend, including pieces composed just for this occasion.
It's a good time to think about all these people who give their lives for us. I think we need soldiers sometimes, but I hope we need more musicians. So, I think it gives some hope.
The big day, of course, will be Sunday. And here in the Grand Place, where the victorious but traumatized Canadians once marched in front of the traumatized residents of this city, there will be a remembrance ceremony. But of course, there will also be a liberation parade. Nala Ayed, CBC News, Mons, Belgium.
Close to 61,000 Canadians died in the First World War. Another 138,000 were wounded in battle, and many were treated in British hospitals. Staff took an unusual approach to help the men get past the mental trauma known as shell shock. As Thomas Dagla tells us, it was an act of collective creation that lives on today.
In a city steeped in history, this giant has many tales to tell. One such story of Canadians and war was nearly lost for good.
Somebody wanted so badly for them to have the opportunity to leave a legacy.
Jane Robinson has spent years piecing together the tale of this embroidery on display at St. Paul's Cathedral. It may look like the work of professionals, but most men who stitched those patterns were soldiers with no embroidery experience at all.
50% of the embroiderers were from the Commonwealth, but my latest research is suggesting that the first embroiderers to begin the work were the Canadians.
During the First World War, British hospitals received wounded Allied soldiers. Many were taught embroidery to improve dexterity and get their focus off the horrors of the battlefield. Among those servicemen was Lance Corporal James Ernest Muth from Port Ryers, Ontario. Gravely injured in battle, he still lived to tell his son about the war and the embroidery.
Both hands were terribly wounded. It stood him in good stead. He became awfully good with his hands and artwork. Oh, here's a good picture, though.
Malcolm Muth retired as a Presbyterian minister. His father told him the needlework instructor got him to stitch one of those yellow tulips, surrounded by the work of other British Empire soldiers.
I was the only one for that big hospital with thousands in it that could shade the leaves the way she wanted.
Their tapestry became the altar frontal used after the war at St. Paul's Cathedral. A fitting addition to a place so firmly rooted in history, some call it the parish church of the Commonwealth.
But I don't think we think enough about the people who came back with those terrible scars and wounds, both mental and physical. And yet here we have something which they were able to focus on, to create, to lift them out of the awfulness of what they'd experienced.
In the Second World War, bombs rained down on London. St. Paul's was badly damaged. With the altar itself destroyed, many assumed its cloth was gone too.
There's his hand. There's his face.
Muth's family cherished his pictures and memories, but never thought they'd get to see the embroidery that he helped make.
And then we discovered that at the beginning of the war, they'd put it away for safekeeping, so it survived. And then they brought it out, you see, but he didn't know that. He died before we knew that.
James Muth's grandchildren, Anna and James, himself a lieutenant colonel, traveled to London to see the piece unveiled again, this time on display for the centennial of the First World War.
To stand before it and see it is a really emotional thing. It is extraordinary to me that a man like him could lead a seemingly ordinary life after what he had been through.
There's no plan for what will happen to the altar frontal after this year's centennial of the armistice. It may be put back into safe storage now that its story lives on. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, London.
And a reminder, Rosemary's hosting our special Remembrance Day coverage Sunday morning. It starts at 10 a.m. Eastern on CBC Television and CBC News Network. And later that evening, Rosie will be back at the National War Memorial, co-hosting a special edition of The National. We'll be right back with tonight's Moment.
In Calgary today, 37 aspiring lawyers were posthumously admitted to the Alberta bar. Each of them gave his life fighting in the First World War. And the extraordinary tribute to them is our Moment of the Day.
I'm with the Calgary Highlanders, but I'm a lawyer here in town as well. And so I'm here to honor both the military and the bar. I've never heard of this initiative before, and it's an absolutely lovely one. Not only for, Canadians and the bar, but for obviously the members of the family that are still here.
On behalf of my great uncle, Corporal John William Gow Logan.
And Ian, I think it is the individual stories that really stay with you. And we heard mention of John Logan there. He apparently had one course and some articling to do left before becoming a lawyer. But he enlisted as a private in 1915. He was promoted to corporal within months and was killed on the last day of the Battle of the Somme in 1916. There are 36 other stories like his. And so for all those families, I suspect today was a long time coming.
Incredible individual stories, Andrew, as you say, and therefore lots of collective stories. One of the organizers of this from Ontario, where they did something similar for the Law Society there, and he was saying that an entire firm had to shut down during the war because so many of the members had volunteered because it was the right thing to do. That is The National for November 9th. Good night.
Good night.